don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender.
Hulk, go smash.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
Here's Johnny.
Wait, 21 gigawatts!
Hey, motherfucker.
You never go ass to mouth.
Now what is so damn funny?
And here we go.
We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight.
The Force will be with you. Always.
But the truth! You can't handle the truth! Showtime, everybody! Showtime!
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the For Real Movie Club. I am your host, Chris the Dace Man Dace, and tonight we will be talking about Halloween horror films and the icons that have shaped horror in general. Joining me on the panel from the Dace Man Show, usually around the corner, and the guy I make fun of a lot, Gibby. I'm not here. So disturbing. Also joining us from the Dace Man Show, Frank Ward.
Hi.
Who's not him here?
Can't. Oh, him. What?
Kick him out. We don't need him.
From Fanboys Anonymous,
So much better.
Caroline, I'm going to probably butcher this, Olivera.
That was pretty good.
Oh, sweet.
Hi, everybody.
So tonight...
You had a chance.
Yeah, tonight we're going to talk about horror movies and the icons that have really shaped the business as is. And the first movie we're going to kick off with is really the first of its kind for the slasher horror films. It's from 1978 and is the American independent slasher horror film directed and scored by John Carpenter. It's also co-written and produced by Deborah Hill and starred Donald Pleasance and Jamie Lee Curtis in her film debut. The film was the first installment in which became the Halloween franchise. The plot is set in the fictional Midwestern town of Haddonfield, Illinois, I like to think it's New Jersey, on Halloween night in 1963. A 6-year-old Mike Myers murders his older sister by stabbing her with a kitchen knife. 15 years later, he escapes from a psychiatric hospital, returns home, and stalks teenager Laurie Strode and her friends. Michael's psychiatrist, Dr. Sam Loomis, the man, suspects Michael's intentions and follows him to Haddonfield to try and prevent him from killing more people. So, as always, when we talk about each film, we're going to go around the table and get your initial thoughts and how you feel about Halloween from 1978. I'd like to throw in there that if Sean Walker's listening, or he did listen, he couldn't get through the first 30 minutes because he thought it was an awful turd. Gibby, what were your thoughts on Halloween, a 1978 film?
I personally hate the Halloween franchise with a passion, to be honest.
Were you disappointed it wasn't Shrek?
Exactly. I don't know. It just seemed to be a weird concept to me.
Murder?
No, it's just not. So when did it cut me off?
Cut you off when you were bashing the film. Welcome back. We're sorry for that. Gibby's opinion apparently does not matter to the internet. Gibby, you were saying that the film was fantastic?
I hate this film. I don't know what you're talking about. I just don't like the premises where he's always killing basically kids or teenagers who are babysitting.
But isn't that like all slasher movies, though?
No, not really. If you actually just look at all the other ones we have on the list. There's nothing about, babysitting here. And
wait, that's your problem with the film?
Babysitter. Yeah, that's the problem.
It just seems weird to me. Like I have issues with all of them that have there's a couple of them out there nowadays that always with babysitters and stuff. Oh my God, he's in the house, blah blah blah, and it's just so stupid on how it's what's called Scary Movie makes fucking fun of it all the time because oh my God, I broke my leg. It's kind of weird. I just never really got into it. I don't know.
Because you hate babysitters. That's what I'm gathering from this.
He has a problem with babysitters.
Exactly right.
What happened to you?
Were you touched by a babysitter when you were younger?
I was molested.
Do we need the rape there?
When I was young.
So, We all know that this is going to be the film that will probably make fun of Gibby for the most. I feel like he relates probably to the pedophile that we'll be talking about later on. Carolyn, what was your first impressions on this cult classic that Gibby hates?
Well, just throwing out there, it's definitely not my favorite of the slasher movies, but I don't hate it. I think it's a little slow in the beginning, but I think that, one, it's a horror movie, so I'm very biased. I love all horror movies, even the very crappy ones, like Jesus Christ, The Vampire Slayer. I watched that one. It's okay. I think that they just wanted something to throw it out there that could compete with other, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, things like that, where somebody wearing a mask is hunting everybody around, killing babysitters, chasing babysitters. It's not my favorite, but I think that, yes, it does have cheesy parts where, somebody falls and the killer's right behind them, but I think that it contributed for the horror genre. I mean, that cheesiness about it, that's what it is. It wasn't, I don't think it was meant to be a serious horror movie. It was just meant to be something you go watch in the movie theater and eat popcorn and, just enjoy, even though I kind of fell asleep in the first 5 minutes, but yeah.
It's true. It's really one of the first of its kind when it comes to a man who can't be taken down just murdering as many people as possible. Okay, Frank has dropped off the call.
Major issues here, don't we?
Right? I'm trying to get into the studio. Dog Talk decides to be stupid again. So while Frank is gone, we'll do some facts about the movie. Like I said earlier, it was written by John Carpenter and co-written by Deborah Hill. And again, it stars Donald Pleasance, who is the man as Dr. Loomis, and that role was later reprised by Malcolm McDowell in the Rob Zombie films. And Jamie Lee Curtis played the star woman that that Michael wanted to kill. P.J. Souls also had a role in this movie, and many of you may remember her from the movie Stripes and stuff like that. It was distributed by Compass International Pictures, as well as Warner Brothers Pictures internationally. The release date was October 25th, 1978, just days before Halloween. The runtime in its original cut was 87 minutes and 101 minutes in the extended cut. The country it was released in was the U.S., the language is English. The budget was only $300,000, and the box office was $70 million. So, Gibby, they did something right.
It's a cult classic. I'll admit that one. But they love it a lot with, all cult classics. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. Mm-hmm. There's no real middle ground with those type of movies. Yeah.
So, Frank, welcome back. What was your first impression of the 1978 Halloween film?
Well, I'm kind of in the middle. I didn't really love it, didn't really hate it. Not to mention I was probably 9 when I saw it the first time. So it seemed to be the scariest thing ever in the world.
Yeah.
Though I personally
it was that scary when I first saw it.
I like Mike Myers and Austin Powers better. Is that a different guy?
It's close. I think it was the guy who plays Wayne, right?
Yeah.
Oh
like
my
that.
God.
For what it was, and for the fact that it was made in the 70s, I don't know what more you could really expect since we've got so much farther in technology. So you have to respect it for what it is, but it's not my go-to horror movie.
Yeah, if you think about it, we are part of the spoiled age when it comes to films. Now our comic book characters are coming to life, and when slashers are getting very more creative because there's really crazy people out there. This one was very brute. I'm just going to pick you up, beat you, smash. Kind of like the Hulk.
I'm going to slow wall as you sprint across the field, but I'll catch you. Don't worry.
They're huge. They're athletic. When it comes to this film, and you kind of touched base on it a little bit, Frank, so I'm going to ask you this question. One of the most iconic things in most of these films, actually all of these films that we're going to talk about tonight, is the horror icon somehow moves in slow motion, and the world around it is trying to move as fast as it can. Do you think that hurts or adds to a film when they talk to you about, hey, let's just see if
They do not communicate.
Hey, I'm back again. The question was pretty long and winded when I was giving it, so I'm just going to short it up. Frank, what's your opinion on the killers walking slow and the people running fast?
Well, I think it was probably meant to add into it, like you just can't get away. And have you ever had that fucked up nightmare where something's chasing you and you can't run away or scream or anything like? No, just me. It's just no. That's cool. It might be just you wouldn't understand.
Yeah, the corn you eat.
Yeah, Children of the Corn, which we're not talking about.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
I'm sorry, Gibby.
I think at the time it made sense and it added to it. Is where I'm going with that. Yeah, be afraid. You can't run. He'll find you, stab you in the back.
Gibby, how thrilled were you with that kind of what? Gibby, how thrilled were you when it came to?
He was thrilled.
I find it kind of odd. What? What? I have no idea. Anyway, I find it kind of odd, kind of to make it seem unrealistic in certain aspects. I know they do it to add suspense and some stuff, but like they kind of made it really corny to a certain extent, and I think we're slowly getting out of that phase when it comes to at least the newer genres for slashers. Not thick as like that's always a good thing. And I didn't mind it as much in like the very first one, because they really didn't over exaggerate as much as the later ones did. So I think they're fixed in their ways. Let's put it that way.
Carol, what was your opinion on this slow-moving, catch up to them really fast mentality?
I agree with what everybody said. I think that if you had a killer that was just running around frantic, like Leatherface. Yes, Leatherface was really scary, but he ran a lot. He has his chainsaw up in the air. Mike Myers, it's more like he's the cool, like collected, like psychopath that will get to you no matter what. So there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, and totally, I agree 100% with that nightmare that everybody has had at least once in their life, where you try to run away, but you either can move or whatever is after you is moving way faster, even though it doesn't look like it, and it's scary. It's almost as if you have no control of the situation, and I think that losing control of anything is one of the biggest fears that we have as a society. Like, nobody wants to be not in control of, their lives, their survival. And Mike Myers, by moving really slowly, he's like a big nightmare for that fear.
Yeah, for sure. That's one thing that these movies like to entail, is to try to get into the helpless situation that you're in the seat of the victim as you're watching. One thing that I enjoyed about these older movies, and we're going to start with you on this one, Frank, because I like to pick on you. You weren't even listening. That's hurtful.
You look pretty.
Yeah. The concept, the way they shoot it, we had this discussion when you were out in Jersey this past weekend. The way they shoot these films, this was one of your sober days. This is where when they kill people in the scenes, you don't really see the killing a lot of the deaths. So do you think that hurts or takes away from the film? Or does it add to the film that we have to apply our imagination?
Yes. Well, for one, it was probably a lot easier to fake stabbing somebody that way and have blood gush everywhere, spray them in the face, cover the children type deal than it is nowadays to fake it, if that makes sense. Like with special effects and stuff that we have now, it was easier to do, but I'm assuming probably back then that was the easiest, cheapest, best way to go about it.
Yeah, it had a budget of $300,000. We couldn't even make a TV show. Yeah. I think. I don't know.
I'm sticking with. It was probably of, hey, how are we going to make this is.
But for you as a viewer, as you're watching this, because this seems to be a movie that kind of puts people in a middle ground way of your baby. How do you feel about it? Do you feel gypped? Do you feel that there should have been more holes in that person?
But again, you're thinking like if you were watching this in 1978, probably not. Now, yes.
Mm-hmm. So we're part of that.
So I'm going on two different sides here. I have respect for how old it is versus what I want to see.
That makes sense. But Carolyn, do you think it hurts or helps that the death scenes are kind of ambiguous when it comes to killing?
I think that it helps to a certain way. They love blood and have scenes in movies. So I'm cool if they keep the view of the death, like we don't know what happened, we just see the after effects of it. But every now and then, like not all the time, give us some crazy gut-wrenching moments where you just want to get grossed out about it. And maybe that's why Halloween is not one of my favorites. I don't know. Like, I would rather see more stuff.
Gibby, finally, you're the one who's kind of this movie. Does it hurt? Is this why you don't like the movie when it comes to the death scenes, that they're not gory enough, that you're spoiled and you'd rather have graphics and CGI cutting people out?
No, I mean, I actually like it better when it doesn't show you as much per se as the newer movie. As long as you get to at least see the after effects, basically. But I mean, actually having like the entire scene of him basically beating the crap out of somebody, I think is, I think your imagination makes it seem a lot worse than if they actually showed it to you in the movie. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense.
Well, you're so yes.
So that to me would be, I actually prefer it the way they did it, where it's kind of not as, kind of where it's almost like looking at him and him beating the crap out of him and blood just going places and GG. Then it cuts back to the dead person on the ground.
Did you just use gamer code for good going? Or good game?
Good game. So that's the preference. Even if you think about it, a lot of the earlier movies had it that way solely because of it's a lot harder to reenact that and make it look real. So a lot of the earlier movies would basically cut to the victim's eyes of them basically getting murdered, and then cut back to like a third person showing the aftermath, which I thought was a lot. I personally like that more than the crazy stuff that they do nowadays, personally.
Fair enough. Gibby, I'm going to give you another question from going from here. Halloween spawned 7 sequels.
Oh, don't even
Seven. And two remakes by Rob Zombie. Mm-hmm. Being a man that did not like the 1978 version, because you're a terrorist,
yep.
Do you feel that it should not have gone any further, or did you feel that when it got in its groove and started moving into the franchise sequels and such, do you think it helped it? Busta Rhymes in 2002 did not do it for me, but just kind of curious on what your opinion are of the franchise as a whole.
So, I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, I watched the first one. I didn't really like it that much. Then I actually watched the second one, and that's pretty much when I gave up on that movie franchise. Mm-hmm. And then I watched the remake by Rob Zombie.
Yes.
I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great per se. I know a lot of people liked it, but it, for some reason, just the whole concept of this, I don't know exactly what it is, but something about it I just don't really like that much.
There wasn't too many baby in the Rob Zombie one, if that was...
Yeah, that was, because he was mostly going after his family in that one. Mm-hmm. Which is also how the first one started in the original, because he pretty much killed I believe he killed his sister first, then at Insane Asylum, and then came back out, and then he started killing all the people. Whereas in the Rob Zombie one, it was just pretty much revolving around his family. And I won't even lie, I've never even seen the second Rob Zombie one, because the first one intrigued me.
There was definitely a lot more backstory in the first Rob Zombie remake.
Yeah.
Carolyn, what were your thoughts on this taking off as a franchise?
Well, I was just gonna say exactly how the backstory was more evident in the first remake of Rob Zombie's remake. I don't know, like I kind of watched movies. You know when you're like really not really watching, it's on in the background and you're doing something else. So to me, it didn't really help. Like I don't really care for the remakes. The only thing that I kind of liked about the Rob Zombie ones was the background story. But at the same time, that was like really me trying to find something that I enjoyed. Because sometimes if you show too much of the backstory, it kind of makes a character not that interesting anymore because you can't really imagine what happened to him. But that was like my least favorite part of that movie. But the other Halloween was kind of like, I mean, maybe if I'm like rearranging my bookcase and there's nothing else to watch, I might watch it, but I don't really care for it.
Mm-hmm. Frank, what was your opinion on the franchise as a whole?
Did he just die?
He's probably eating. He's good at that.
Yes. No, I'm not eating. I already ate. I'm always dead.
I don't have much of an opinion on it, to be fully honest. Like, it was just one of those things where if it was on TV, I caught it. If it wasn't, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of useless right now.
Perfect. Well,
yay.
Thank you.
Halloween 3 obviously had nothing to do with Michael Myers whatsoever when it comes to the expansion of the franchise. And to me, at least,
didn't get that far.
Yeah, don't worry. It's about some kind of mask that eats away at people's heads.
Did not get that far.
To me, Halloween 4 and 5 were my favorites when it came to it, because it kind of reintroduced Mike after a terrible idea of doing Halloween 3, and then it was also around the time I was born, so I had ideas of this is the way I'm going to go. When it comes to this movie, and just one last touch point before we go on to the next one, Gibby, on a scale, can you guys hear that?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a train right next to me. Apparently the train ran into me, destroying the computer, and I apologize. But now we're back, and the last question we're going to wrap up with the Halloween franchise is, what was the low point, high point of the movie, or a low point, high point of the franchise, because we'll just go overall. And 1 to 10, what would you rank this film? So we'll start with you, Senor Gibb.
All right. Let's see here. I would say, do you want me to give the rating first, or how do you like a specific format on this, or no?
Go nuts.
All right. So I personally didn't enjoy the movie at all. I think my biggest issue was it was kind of a odd setup. I know it's like one of the original slashers, but I don't know. I had issues with the way he was killing things and his selection of choice, I guess you would say. It was kind of just seemed like it was haphazardly put together to a certain extent. And that's for, I guess, the best thing that happened to it. I really don't have a best thing because I really don't like it, is my problem.
I figured your worst thing would be about the babysitters, that kids
I
should be able to watch.
was going to say I was waiting for the babysitter.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I was just saying. Like the whole, like what he was killing, like that's what he's trying to kill his babysitters, which I find weird.
Oh, I don't listen to you. Sorry.
No, I know it. I did notice that. So that would be my biggest issue, and there's no real good points to it in my opinion. The only good thing I would say about it is it did start a great genre. Like, it's a very great genre it started. Because it's pretty much catapulted all of the slasher movies. So they did take a big risk in trying to do this, basically. So I guess that would be a good thing for it. And as for score, I mean, I would probably give it either probably about a 4.
4?
Yeah.
You're a terrible person.
The only reason it's that high is just because I know it's a cult classic. And I know I don't personally like it, but I know a lot of people out there like it, so that's why it's getting a 4.
That's very generous of you to not even give it a 50%.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Frank, what was your high point, low point, and what would you rate the movie?
High point is he killed people. I was a big fan of that.
Okay. I have a feeling you're going to like the next 3 films.
Oh, do they also have something to do with killing?
I think Child's Play is about redemption, but we'll find out.
And low point, not enough boobs.
So he's gonna like Friday the 13th.
Yes. And you got a hell of a ride coming up soon, sir.
And I think as far as rating goes, I would settle on a 6.372. 4.
Wow.
Really specific there. Carolyn, what was your high point, low point on the film, and what would you give it a rating 1 to 10?
Okay. Low point, I think that the Michael Myers character should have been a little bit more developed. I think that if they gave him a little bit more depth, it would have made up so much for all the reasons people normally don't like the movie or are a little iffy about it. High point, I think the fact that there's like somewhat small movie, the first one, and ended up creating a bunch of other sequels and 2 remakes, and it's still relevant today. I think that's pretty awesome, and I think that alone makes it up for its shortcomings. And Halloween 3. I think I'll give it like maybe like a 6, 6.5. Let's say 6.5. And I always relate his points because I feel like Michael Myers had a lot of potential to be a really, really awesome villain, and it kind of fell short.
Fair enough. So
I want to change my answer to whatever she said. In depth and stuff.
You're not allowed to sound smart, Frank. You're playing the mediocre role here with your .324s or whatever you were giving. So that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up.
Great.
That, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up the Halloween franchise here on the For Real Movie Club. If you're listening live, hang on to your butts. We're going to go into the next one. If you're listening on the archive session, we're going to go ahead and click the little link to the next video or whatever Tony sets up. As we move from babysitters to camp counselors, as we move into Friday the 13th, Part 2. This film, first and foremost, before we get rolling on this film, I want to make it clear as to why we're not doing the original Friday the 13th, and it's because we're doing slasher icons, and Jason was not the killer in the first movie. That was his crazy-ass mom that created Jason. So
She wasn't that crazy.
Just a little bit. What about my boy?
She was a creepy mother.
You was a creepy mom.
But the sweater, though. That sweater,
Damn kids, and they're making love. Not
if you weren't
baby swim
out on the cabin deck making love, my boy wouldn't have drowned. Let's ignore the fact that I'm a horrible mother that sent him to camp anyway. Kids are going to make fun of a deformed freak.
Aw, she was trying her best.
Wow. She wanted to give him a chance.
Terrible mom. Terrible mom. Friday the 13th, Part 2, is a 1981 American horror film directed by Steve Miner. It is the second installment of the Friday the 13th franchise and is a direct sequel from the Friday the 13th that aired in 1980. So 1 year later, they ran with a sequel. It picks up 5 years after the film's conclusion, where a new murderer stalks camp counselors at a nearby training camp. The film marks the first time Jason Voorhees is the antagonist. Like I said before, his mother was the killer in the previous film. That's the word. Friday the 13th Part 2 reproduces certain key elements that made the original Friday the 13th a sleeper hit in 1980, such as first-person camera perspectives, gory stalk and slash scenes, and campground settings. Although it did not reach the original box office success as the first one, the sequel was a financial success overall, grossing $21.7 million in the U.S. on a budget of just $1.05 million. As always, when it comes to these films, we'll start with you on this one, Frank, because I like picking on you.
What are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about Sesame Street and the episode where Jason... We're talking about Friday the 13th Part 2. What was your initial thought on the movie?
You couldn't just go with anything.
About Sesame Street, but I don't think anyone's going to listen.
Oh, wow. They don't have a choice. They're locked in now. Initial thought, again, one of those that I saw really and didn't really know what was going on. I probably shouldn't have been watching that anyway. But it was, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to form a real thought.
I know it's hard for you because you're out in Iowa.
Yeah. Thinking's not our strong suit. And I have the first one stuck in my head because we're talking about it, too. I think I've seen that one more, oddly enough. But it's cool that he came back to get some revenge on whores, basically, that sleep around a bunch. That seemed to be it. If you had sex in this movie, you died. And so...
Yeah, it's a winner in my book.
Mm-hmm. Kind of seemed to be how the rule went.
Carolyn,
kind of cool.
What was your initial thought?
Thank you for moving on.
You're welcome.
Flailing miserably.
Yeah, you were flailing like Jason was in the lake, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See what I did there? I linked the two. Carolyn, what was your original thought, or what was your first impression of Friday the 13th Part 2?
I love that movie. I love the Part 1 too, even though we're not talking about it. And like I said in another podcast, as some boys anonymous, I think that Jason is just very misunderstood. Like, he was bullied, he had a really hard life, and then he died because two camp counselors weren't doing their job and was making out. So I feel like he's kind of like, I feel bad for him. Like, I get it why he would kill people. Like,
you're justifying his murders?
I understand you, boo.
I got disconnected again, didn't I?
Did you?
It's saying reconnected to the server.
Dramatic life, you kind of relive it. And just like you guys said, like, everybody who's hooking up in this movie dies. Yeah, because that's what caused his death. So he goes on and he's trying to punish people. They're doing that. Maybe in his head he's trying to make things right. If he kills those people, he might be alive again. So I think that even though he doesn't talk and he seems just like a brute wearing a mask and carrying a machete around, I think he's just like, I don't know, I just feel like I just want to hug him. Like, I like him a lot. And I also think that the deaths in the movie are pretty epic. Like, it's really, really fun to try to guess, like, how that character is going to die. It's cool. I like it.
Gibby, what was your first impression of Friday the 13th Part 2? Please note that there were no babysitters in this, though technically they should have been watching.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually like the whole premise behind it. So basically it's all revolving around...
Time out.
What?
Hold on.
Yes.
You like the premise behind Friday the 13th Part 2, but not Halloween?
Yes. Because if you think about it, it's a ploy on revenge. So basically her mom thought that he died, and he didn't die. So then she becomes Jason, and then she dies in the end of the first one. And then that sprouts him to become Jason and then go on mass killing spree. And it all revolves around Lake, what whatever, I forget what the heck that town that the thing is, but all revolves around basically that that camp. I think it's Camp Crystal or something, and so basically everything revolves around that. And if you actually look into it, there's a lot of especially if you go through all of the at least the original ones. They started getting crazy when they started putting them in space and shit. But it's actually quite interesting how it always winds up him with the lake. That's what basically has to quote unquote kill him, pretty much in every one. And yet everything he is revolved around is basically the camp, the counselors, and basically failing him as a child and failing his mother. So
That's a very interesting point you have.
I actually thought that one was actually quite. The story behind that was a lot more clear compared to Halloween, because basically Halloween is just, oh my god, it's a crazy kid. He's going off the deep end, blah blah blah. Whereas Friday the 13th, there's actually is a reason behind how the originals worked. I mean, the originals when they stayed around the camp. But they have like a bazillion of these now, and they've become to get kind of crazy. And they're almost using him more as an iconic character, more so than actually telling a story behind it. So I actually really, really enjoyed the original Friday the 13th. And I very much appreciated how they were all intertwined and linked together. And basically how this character came to be known as basically almost like a devil-type character who basically can't die, but can only go into like slumber sleeps at the bottom of the lake. But even in the newer ones, like when he's in space and stuff, if you didn't realize, he lands when he dies, quote unquote, he lands in the goddamn lake. So they're still trying to bring
when he was
it
in
back
space.
Yeah.
When he was in space, that was the best one ever, hands down.
Oh my.
Oh my god.
Jason X was amazing.
I'm done. I'm off this show.
Jason X was my favorite movie.
That is probably one of the worst ones, by far.
You're one of the worst people on this panel.
Sure.
Sure. Supposed to say bias.
But
before we roll into, go ahead. Sorry, but
I enjoyed the originals a lot. I've probably watched the originals multiple times. The only other one that I've watched more is actually on this list, Mr. Freddy. But I love this character that they basically developed and created. I'm done. And I think I'm the only one here now. Oh, guys. You gotta love Jason. Jason is the best. The best. We can just switch cues here and go into much, much, much better genres. But I'll stick with it. As you can tell, people, we're having major technical difficulties. Mr. Daceman over there is in Canada and can't keep a stable internet connection. Save his life. But we'll see what happens. But for me personally, I enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed this movie a lot. I enjoyed them as sequels, but not as much in the later, as I've been saying. So we're going to go with that. And hopefully Dace calls back in sometime soon. It's my candy bar. Come on. So, yeah. How about Freddy? Oh, come on. So, we're apparently still having technical difficulties. Yes. Done.
How about your show somewhere else?
I'm doing the For Real Movie Club.
You just got all kinds of stuff going on.
Of course.
Give baby.
Okay.
I made it. I'm
You
here.
made
What
it.
are we talking about? Yeah.
What happened to Days? He just died, didn't he?
Well, I did what you told me to do, so I got into the studio, or in that way.
All
so
right.
what are we talking about? What's going on? Friday the 13th?
Talking
Good stuff?
about Friday the 13th. You might as well give your opinions on it, because I was going on for an extended time about mine.
You had a lot of opinions.
Well, I actually like the genre. Like I said, like I feel like as a whole, well, the earlier ones as a whole was actually a much better, well thought out, put together concept than the stupid Halloween franchise. Which I think that to me, it's more just slapped together. But enough about Frank. Go to you.
So that they had actual storyline. There was a reason for why he was a killer, other than just crazy, seeking revenge on dirty little teens, kind of deal. Is that what you mean?
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of opinions on it. I guess it's.
Well,
yeah,
how many of you have watched the series?
I get probably I've seen the first one like a million times because that's always on TV. It seems.
That's the one with the mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one to me was actually quite interesting because you really can't have the second one without the first one. Because otherwise, if you didn't have the first one, it really doesn't make sense, the second one. So the first one's more of like a backstory, but it starts off the whole franchise. Whereas I feel like if they had something like that for the Halloween movie, it would probably made it a lot better. Because basically you just realize the kid's crazy and you have no idea why and what the hell's going on. And then he just goes around killing friggin' basically babysitters for God knows what reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, just because he was mentally deranged. I guess he didn't need to have a reason.
Yep. I guess maybe that was what it was, but I to me, I need more of a reasoning behind it, more story-based, where I feel like they did a much better job in Friday the 13th because they really made Jason seem like an actual character.
And the fact of knowing he's already dead. Like,
well,
that adds to it.
In the first one, see, he didn't. It's weird, because the first one, he doesn't actually die to the end of the second one. His mother thought he died because the camp counselors neglected him, but he didn't actually die. He was just basically hiding in the woods or whatever because the people kept picking.
Yeah, you're right. See,
and
I don't know what I'm talking about.
She went on a murderous rampage, and then he witnessed his mother die at the end of the first one, and that's when basically he snapped, went crazy, and then in the second one, basically it starts out I don't know, I should probably Google it, but the Camp Lacet or whatever it is. So basically what happened then is it's an abandoned, and they just start to try and open it up again, and then basically he's hiding out in one of the cabins for like eons and eons for like how many ever years, because he's actually grown up at this point, and people start coming back. And he doesn't actually pick up that hockey mask, like the thing that most notified him until, I would say, towards the end of the movie is when he actually put that on, and that's when he basically becomes Jason, and basically the icon that we see him as today. So, to me, I thought it was a much, much better movie all around, because to me, it gave you a much better storyline, and you could feel a lot more for the character of Jason, because you kind of know, as long as you watched them all in progression, you at least understand what's going through his mind to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And they give you a little bit more detail in the other characters as well that he's basically going to eventually kill, except for, the very first scene, which is he's always killing somebody. And they're always doing it for some reason. But that's the other thing. I didn't understand, what was your take on the fact that this is probably one of the first movies that really took, that whole sex appeal into, actually sex on the screen to the extent that Jason or Friday the 13th movies did. Because I'm pretty sure it's in every single one, there's multiple sex scenes.
Yeah, it definitely started getting the ball rolling on, we're going to correlate bloody gore movies with boobs. It's like a trade-off. You get to get scared, but then you get to see boobs. Scared, boobs. Boobs, scared. And then you
Like,
knew anytime somebody got naked, they were about to die. Like it was
exactly.
It was the key card for like, nope, keep your bra on. No, boobs. Sorry.
You're gonna get it. How are you gonna get it? How
Sorry
you
for your luck.
And it always seems to be, at least in the first part, it's always somebody in a tent. Always tense. But it's quite interesting because at least then you understand why. Because I mean, it's at a campground, so obviously they're going to be in tents and stuff like that. So it's just, I think it's much better put together than all the others.
Yeah, I could see that.
What the hell is going on?
He's trying to get Caroline, she over here. He's trying to backdoor the system too. So we're having technical difficulties.
Major technical difficulties. So this kind of sucks because I guess we could go into, I don't know what we can go into at this point.
Do you have a high point, low point rating? Because that's a thing that happens.
Yeah, I mean, for my high point, I just love the whole storyline aspect of it. Like, I've been harping on this entire time, whereas it actually makes you feel more for the characters. Because it basically, if you watch them in sequence, you actually understand what's going on. Now, granted, I am X-naying a lot of the later ones because they get freaking crazy.
Yeah, they just get carried away with Jason being places killing people.
So which I mean I didn't mind because basically they're just taking an iconic character and basically just selling that character per se.
Yeah.
Not as much as the storyline behind it. At least the original, I think it's the original 6 or so, are pretty much all based around the story. So I actually enjoyed those the most. And then once they started getting crazy, I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed them, but they were just getting kind of really out there. Like, I can't believe Dace even said he liked the one in space, because that one to me made no effing sense whatsoever. But yeah, that to me is my bar for my highest point. As for the low point, I would actually say that, to be honest, I thought it was kind of overdone with the whole sex scenes and stuff like that. I really felt like they were almost like forcing it into each one. Because it's literally multiple times in every single one, which I found kind of really forced in. Not necessarily something that needed to be there, but they just felt like they had to be there. I guess just because the originals did it, so they just kind of kept compounding on it, and it's like, you know, at that point, it's like every person that died had to have a sex scene. So that would be my biggest issue with the franchise. And then for the actual numbering, I would definitely have to give this a solid 9 in total, by far. So yeah. How about you?
Am I back?
You're back.
Everybody's back.
Yay! Okay.
Hooray! That was painful.
Sorry, I am very slow with computers, guys. Sorry, I apologize.
I have one that could rival your slowness. Mine is pathetic.
All right.
We were just going
So
over
what are you guys talking about?
our high point, low point, and rating of Friday the 13th, or whatever we were talking about. Not Sesame Street.
Yeah, we
Definitely
kind of
weren't talking about
we already went through everything, and we're at the end because there's only 2 of us here, so it went by pretty quick.
Fair enough.
But I guess we could start with we could go back to your guys.
Yeah, you guys can talk for a while.
I have no opinions. I'm a moderator. I seem to be doing that very well.
Yeah, you are not doing very well.
What franchises?
You're the kind of host that throws a party and then goes to bed and let everybody else hang out.
No, she did there. So we'll talk to Caroline. She's favorite, and you talk. When it comes to the franchise, I don't know about it. But what do you feel as when it comes to all sequels?
I have no idea what's going on right now.
Oh my god.
Am I back?
Ish.
I think we got to
I'll just type in the question.
But yeah, so this is a technical problem.
Is this just an interview with Brian?
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hi. You sound beautiful.
Okay, good, because I was like hearing like, a bunch of interference, and I wasn't sure if I was like dropped or not. So you want me to answer that question, like high points, or are we moving on to another movie?
You can do with the high points, low points, and the 10.
Cool. I love the movie. I think that is a very fun horror movie. I mean, the death scenes are cool, especially when the cop is in the bed and they get impaled together. That was pretty cool. I think Jason is a very awesome villain. The fact that he has a machete, I think it's pretty badass. And the low point, you're gonna kill me for this, but maybe Jason's face was the lowest point of. Oh no! Shocking! Oh my god! Just because I don't know. I think of Jason. I think and Crystal Lake. So to me, that didn't. Forcing it a little bit, and I will rate this movie as a solid 8 because it deserves it.
Okay. Frank, did you rank it?
No, I didn't yet.
Okay.
I was
well,
about
I guess
to,
we can hear your opinion. Go ahead.
You don't have to hear my opinion. My high point is a lot more boobs.
I find it hilarious that your high point and that was my low point.
Yeah.
Wait,
I don't
what?
watch the
Hold on.
storyline.
I missed that?
Yeah,
his low point was there was too much sex.
Exactly.
He thought it just didn't make sense why there were so many people boning all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay in the beginning, but then I feel like the later the franchise got on, it was just almost like it was forced in because it was in all the other ones, therefore they had to keep it going. More so than needing to actually be in there.
I just think it's a reward system for, hey, we're going to scare you, but here's some boobs. So it's just a, ooh moment.
Okay.
The only man that lives in Iowa, leave me alone. Anyway, the low point is I really don't have much of a low point, really. I mean, no low point.
Oh, wow.
So what would you rank it on a 1 to 10?
Well, it can't have a 10 because that's just rude. So how about 9? Even.
Very nice.
Even.
So
there we go.
We will now be leaving Crystal Lake and heading to a famous street.
Sesame Street.
Where
a
pedophile did his business. So if you're listening to this live, hopefully I stay with you for most of it. If you're listening to it on YouTube, you're probably hearing a lot, and I apologize. Hang in there. Click onto the next video, and we're going to talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street. So those of you who are sticking through all this pixelated conversation that I'm giving you, Nightmare on Elm Street is a 1984 American supernatural slasher horror film written and directed by Wes Craven, and the first film of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. It stars Heather Langenkamp, John Saxon, Renee Blakely, Amanda Weiss, Sue Garcia, the infamous Robert Englund, and a very, very young Johnny Depp in this featured film. It was his debut, too. So set in the fictional... Huh?
What is Johnny Depp playing it?
He's the waterfall of blood.
Yeah.
Well,
the most
the
iconic scene.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize that was him.
How did you not realize it was... Oh, he didn't have any pirate gear on. I get it.
Doug Gibby.
Thank you.
Idiot.
Thank you.
Another film I wished would take place in New Jersey, but it does not. Set in the fictional Midwestern town of Springwood, Ohio. Several teenagers.
The Midwest is a scary place to live. You have to be tough to live here.
That's right.
Well, no, I believe Ohio is.
What?
Them cornfields
it's
are scary.
So?
It's Ohio.
So?
It's near a lake.
So? It's scary.
There's nothing. Nothing to do with your barren
Be
land
afraid and
planet
die.
Earth.
Be afraid and die. That's it.
Serial killers out there would freeze.
Yeah, they don't show that.
Anyway, the plot revolves around several teenagers who are stalked and killed in their dreams, and thus killed in reality, by Freddy Krueger. The teenagers are unaware of the cause of this strange phenomenon, but their parents solved a dark secret from long ago. Craven produced A Nightmare on Elm Street on an estimated budget of $1.8 million, and a sum of the film earned back during its first week. In instant commercial success, the film went on to gross over $25 million in the U.S. box office. A Nightmare on Elm Street was met with rave critical reviews and went on to make a very significant impact on the horror genre, spawning a franchise consisting of line of sequels, a television series, and a crossover with Friday the 13th, beyond various other works of imitation. A remake of the same was released in 2010 and was told it was horrible. So, initial thoughts on the film. Carolyn, we'll start with you on this one. Nightmare on Elm Street, what were your initial thoughts?
I think of them, that's definitely my favorite. Freddy was, I think it still is, one of the scariest villains out there. I mean, something that attacks you in your sleep, where you probably feel the safest. I mean, it has nightmares, and you always wake up from them and realize, oh, I'm safe. It was just a dream. But if not, what if whatever happens in the dream realm happens in real life? And that's pretty cool. And I also want to say that in the very first movie, Freddy was not considered a pedophile. He just killed children, and then the pedophile thing happened on the remake. Not that it matters. He's still a really bad guy, but it was awesome movie. I loved it. I have a Freddy Krueger doll in my room. I love him.
Dun, dun, dun. I thought he was a pedophile the entire time.
No,
he's a pervert in the first one.
He kills kids.
He was misunderstood.
Yeah, I thought he was he
he was crazy.
Molested
he was
kids
misunderstood.
No, not in the first one. He was just a killer. Like, still pretty bad, but yeah.
Gibby, what was your first impression on the film, since it's by far your favorite, as you keep saying it? The other so-called.
I personally love Freddy Krueger. All right, love him. All I can say is 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your door. 5,
Gibby Sings is on Wednesday.
I think that is like one of the best songs ever.
There's something really creepy about little girls chanting things.
I know. It is true. It's in a couple of them. But I personally love this genre. I like the first 4. I didn't like the 5th one that much. But this is another one that I thought had well, according to her, my backstory's wrong, but had a pretty good backstory, because I thought it was always that he was a child killer, but he also basically molested them before he basically killed them with that hand glove knife thingy, and then the parents of basically Elm Street, who they were basically he was molesting and things like that, chased him down into an old industrial factory, threw into a furnace, and burned him to death. And that's how he got his complexion of melted skin. And the reasoning behind it was him haunting the kids, where the fact that they were the kids of the parents that basically burnt him, trying to get back at the parents. But I could be wrong.
Or I could be wrong. I just had the impression he was just a killer. I don't know. He's still awesome. I mean, great villain. Not awesome as in let's kill children. No, like that. Just cool villain.
Yeah. So, I mean, I actually really enjoyed it. I like the original ones better than the older ones. I did like the reboot. We could bring back in Jason here when they had Freddy vs. Jason. I thought that was really cool when they brought those two iconic characters together. I think they did it twice, didn't they? So that was actually kind of neat. Just once? Yeah.
You probably watched it twice.
I watched it multiple times. Don't worry about that. So I actually really enjoyed this one. Probably one of my favorite scary movies.
What was your first impression of Elm Street?
Talking to me?
No. TikTok.
I thought you were going to keep going. I think
we interrupt you on
opinion...
Wednesday nights.
I'm still used to it. All right. I agree with everybody about it. Just about Freddy being fantastically awesome as far as a killer goes. Because it was already said again, but I'll say it again. Being able to fall asleep, or being afraid to fall asleep because you're going to die there, is got to be one of the worst things ever. Because everybody wants to go to sleep, take a nap, nice, cozy in your bed, and then next thing you know, you're getting sliced the fuck up. It's a rude way to wake up.
Yep.
Or not wake up.
No, you'd still wake up at some point, I'm assuming. Screaming, bloodied, hanging from the ceiling, not sure what's going on.
That's right.
Well, I think. Are you Jason again, or do you want to keep going?
Well, no, I was doing some research when you jumped on over to me, so I'm reading and trying to talk at the same time. I don't think he molested any kids. He murdered 20 children, but due to technicality, he was released.
See?
And then they burnt his house to the ground and killed him.
Okay.
The parents of the murdered kids did.
I didn't think it was his. It was his house. I thought they chased him to like some industrial thing.
It doesn't say house. I just wanted to throw that in. It just said they burned him alive.
Yeah, they did. I thought they threw him in a furnace in like some industrial thing, and then they just burned him there and just left his corpse.
I thought it was his house because that's why he's on Elm Street. Because his house was on Elm Street.
Well, that's where all the kids he was praying.
I just make things up. I don't.
They all went to the same, I guess.
No.
School.
No.
Oh my God. All right, fine. Go.
All right, you can move on now. I'm done.
Okay. So when it comes to the horror icons that we've talked, among two of them has been the fact they don't talk. Freddy was one of the first ones where he really taunted the hell out of his victims. And for me personally, it's why I like him the most. Gibby, we'll start with you because you're kind of a prick. When it comes to taunting his victims, do you feel that it helped his character or no?
I think that pretty much defined his character. And it like I was saying in that song, like the people actually saw those kids inside their dreams. So it wasn't even just him doing it. Like even the surrounding atmosphere and the creations in it were even taunting basically the soon-to-be victims of Freddy's cruel rage. So I actually really enjoyed that because they actually definitely played a lot more with the atmosphere inside the dreams to actually promote basically who he was. And I really, really enjoyed that.
Frank, what were your thoughts on him and his foul mouth / taunting of victims? It really did spawn a new thing, and we'll see it again in our next film we review. So what are your thoughts on the taunt?
Well, it makes him just way more creepy and badass, knowing that he's just going to mess with you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Yet, it's just one of those things, I guess. It's one thing to be creepy when you're not saying anything and just following him, like in the previous ones. But then there's another side to it, like, yeah, he's just pretty much letting you know, yeah, I'm going to kill you. So, how about you deal with that? And you can just cry, but you can't cry yourself to sleep because you're going to die there. I'm done.
Carol,
man.
what were your thoughts on Freddy's mouth?
Wow. Yeah, it worked for him. Jason and Michael Myers, and maybe that's why Michael Myers didn't really work for me. They're kind of like acting on, especially Jason. He's acting on instinct. He's like muscle. He's not making traps for the kids. He's not. Let's just say that he's not really brain. Like not brain dead. It's horrible. He's not really smart. He's just doing his thing. Freddy, he is a very smart killer/villain, and part of his intelligence is the way that he taunts the kids. It's by vocalizing it all. So, and it just works because you have the visual part where you see in his dreams, he takes shape of different characters, and I think that's also really important. You wouldn't feel right if he was completely silent as Freddy, but if he was inside someone else's dream, the shape of someone's mom or friend, he would be talking. So it just works for him. He needs to be vocal and he needs to talk a lot, and he has the best voice. He's awesome. He's awesome. I love it.
To give some, the next question we're going to jump in, and we jumped on it with pretty much all of these we're going to touch base on, is the fact that these are franchise players, and that's why we're reviewing them tonight. The Nightmare on Elm Street went on to have 6 sequels almost after year, taking a break in 86, but 85 saw Freddy 2, or saw Elm Street 2, 87 saw 3, 88 saw 4, 85 saw, or 89 saw 5. It ran 6 sequels, did a crossover with Jason, and then a reboot in 2010, which I still think sucks, because Michael Bay had his hand in it.
It was really bad.
Frank, we'll start with you on this one, because I don't like picking on you.
Yay.
The franchise.
Purple.
To me, he's the king of franchise players. He is the LeBron of horror, or, well, Michael Jordan. I don't know anything about LeBron.
Don't
He's
use
the Michael
sports.
Jordan.
You don't know sports.
I don't. I'm sorry. I'm going into dangerous
sports
territory.
references.
He's
the
Tom
Mario. Mario?
Mario, there you go. He's the Mario of video, whatever. What do you think about the franchise?
Yes.
All right, Gibby.
It's a great franchise, and it kept true to itself. It didn't, at least from my knowledge, it didn't go and send Freddy to Mars or something weird. That'd be crazy.
Hey.
What?
That was a jab at me.
What? No. I wouldn't. Not here. But it stayed very good to its original premise, I think, and then someone will probably say something that proves this opinion wrong. So I just like it. You can watch any movie and not really miss out on the last one, but at the same time know what's going on. Does that make sense? I'm just saying words.
You are saying words. I noticed that.
Yep.
It'll make sense to someone.
I hope so.
Just
Also,
not
Netflix only has Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I'm a little upset. I just wanted to say that. It's terrible. It is Halloween season, Netflix. Get your shit together.
That does seem kind of odd.
And I really did like the mashup
on the franchise.
I'm done.
My turn?
Yes,
Yes.
it's your turn.
Awesome. I mean, I agree. He's the Mario of video games. All that. He is a really cool character. Has an awesome weapon. He just looks pretty scary, and I also think it really works the fact that he's not big and muscular and just like a big monster. He's kind of scrawny looking, and he's like a rat of nightmares. He's just there, and he's sneaky, and he victims if they're taking naps. I hated the remake. It was horrible. I hated that they had to do the digital makeup on the actor. That sucked. The thing that Freddy's a pedophile, I hate that too. It was just a really bad movie. So that one to me does not exist. The other ones are pretty cool, except for maybe the one, and I forget, I was trying to remember. I think it's maybe the third one where the girl's pregnant and she keeps having like nightmares when she's awake, and she realizes that actually her fetus is the one sleeping and dreaming with Freddy. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of pushing it. But it's a franchise. They're going to have some downfalls. still, I think it's the most successful one, and I kind of just pray that we don't have more remakes on that one for our sake. It's awesome.
No, I agree.
give it like a 9.7.
I also agree that Robert Englund is the defining part of this. Gibby, what was your thoughts on the franchise?
I actually really enjoyed the franchise. I thought it was getting kind of a little crazy towards the end, but it was still watchable. But I actually really enjoyed how they kind of kept the entire idea of Freddy alive the entire time, and how they basically always somehow had it linked back to basically how he died. Because basically there's like a premise of why he's doing what he's doing to everybody. And of course he started out with kids, and it just, makes sense that it's still kids that he's still going after. But now he's got a much more reason behind it. But then in the later ones, like especially like Freddy vs. Jason and stuff, like there was literally no premise behind it. It was just, let's put them together and see what happens. So I very much enjoyed it. I wouldn't mind it if they did a good reboot of it, but what they did before was not a good reboot of it. It was kind of, I think they over-tried was the problem. And I think they just need to basically tone it back some.
I kind of want to hit a point on that. I'm glad you're bringing that up when it comes to the remake, comes to reaching a little bit too far. There's 2 points that I want to bring up about the remake. One, not you, Frank, Gibby. Gibby had a good point. We're going to give him one.
No, he didn't. When does Gibby ever bring up a good point? Ever.
Fair enough. The Nightmare on Elm Street that was remade in 2010, there's two key things that I think made it not so successful, and I want your opinion on this as well. The first being they went darker. Now, I know when it comes to the concept of Nightmare on Elm Street, it's already a dark concept, but they went a little bit creepier rather than a jovial little prick that's running around killing you in your dreams. The second thing I think they're missing, and you can tell me to shut up or not, Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. And he brings a certain swag to character that I don't think they were able to recreate with another person, especially the guy who was in was it a comic book movie where it was Rorschach or whatever he was. Mm-hmm. He was a creepier version. So we'll go on the panel. I imagine everybody. First off, has everybody seen the remake, or at least know about it?
I don't know if I have or not. Give me a minute. I'll get to me last. Move on.
I haven't, and I haven't watched it on the sole fact that it wasn't Robert Englund. So, Gibby, I'll start with you. When it comes to this franchise, Robert Englund, and we usually do this for all our films, but when it comes to horror, everybody gets killed off so quickly. But Robert Englund was able that started as Freddy Krueger, ended as Freddy Krueger until this reboot. Anybody else, could they pull it off?
No.
I think it can be possible. It's just it's going to require a lot of work, and you need to find the right type of actor in order to actually do it. The one that they had do Freddy was I don't know if he probably could have done it. I just feel like the director and stuff kind of took Freddy in a slightly different path. Plus, it seemed like the reboot was more about the history, not much about Freddy. Because in that one, they definitely dove way, way more into the lore behind him. And there really wasn't as much in the way of like sleeping deaths, or I would say. It was much more of basically people trying to figure out what's going on, compared to the originals where they're always fighting to stay awake, not wanting to basically fall asleep, and it was basically a struggle for them to figure out what's going on as well as staying awake. Whereas they kind of got rid of that concept a lot in the reboot because they really weren't struggling per se to stay awake. It just seemed like they were more just traveling around trying to figure out who he was, what he did, and basically go from there to try to figure out how to stop him. So I think the director kind of screwed that movie up more so than anything else.
So it's more or less they tried an origin story. At the same time, they tried an origin story of it, but at the same time do a remake of the '84. So let's try to do two parallel paths in the same movie. And if they went with just a prequel or they just would have went with a total reboot, it could have been a better success.
It would have been a much, much, much better success if they basically needed to define it more, just like you said, because the way they had it now is it's more of a little bit of everything, but nothing is defined really. So I found that kind of weird. But I mean, I still enjoyed it. It was just not, to me, it wasn't really as much of a Freddy movie as it was more of like an origin story, but with tidbits of Freddy in it. But that's just how I that was my feelings behind it. And that's why I was kind of interested to see if they'll come out with another one. Since they already kind of went through the origin of it to see exactly how they would go from there, basically. Because, I mean, he did set some things up pretty nice, but whether or not he follows up on it is a different story. So...
Carolyn, when it comes to the Freddy Krueger character and Brian, I called him Brian, Robert Englund is iconic. His role is associated with him, and at least in my opinion, you can't replace a cut that. Do you feel that that's where it went wrong when it came to the reboot?
That was it for me. But I just think the movie, it didn't work. I think that the point where maybe they were trying to do a remake, a prequel, got mixed up. The script was bad. Like, everything about the script was bad. The dialogue was horrendous. Like, at the entire time, I didn't care for those teenagers. I couldn't care less if they died or if they lived. And that's bad. Because in a movie like Freddy Krueger, yeah, you're watching for Freddy, but you're also, you want to cheer for the kids. Like, you want to survive or figure out a way to him, and that didn't happen. I hate it. I really, really hated how they did the digital makeup. I didn't get that. Like, you take one of the most iconic things about Freddy Krueger, which is his face, and change it. They might take his gloves away and put like in his hands. Like, it was just like ridiculous. It's just not focused. It's a really bad movie. I think that it was one of those things where they just wanted to see out of the audiences like desperately and put like another Freddy Krueger movie there just because people know who Freddy is. They don't have to worry too much about explaining things and just like try to put something together real quick and throw it out there. And it was just bad. And to me, it's just sad because, I mean, he's an icon and he was much better than that shit fest that they had out there.
Would you enjoy it a lot better, though, if they kind of basically either just didn't focus on the origin or just focused on the origin? Because I feel like they kind of mixed it together in that movie. And I
think that, it's definitely, I feel like, they didn't know where to focus. I think that's like what I'm trying to say. I agree with you on that, and I think that it's a plot fail. They kind of try to go there with the script, but it went nowhere. So it kind of felt like, it's just a movie. Let's just like have some kids and have them killed in their or whatnot, and try to figure out who is crazy. It was like too much, and at the same time, nothing. It was just watching a really bad commercial. They needed to like script, change 100%, pick what they want to focus on, if they do like how Freddy came, or if it's gonna be a remake, focus on and just do a better job, not change his face. What the hell? Or at least somebody who kind of resembles Robert Englund, like bad.
Okay. I mean, I could see that. I don't know. I mean, they updated his look, I will admit that. But I didn't think it was that bad of an update. I mean, I could see what you're saying, because you're seeing more of the iconic thing. But they kind of made it look more like he was in a fire, whereas the old one just almost looked like he was just wearing a mask.
I don't know. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Frank, what was your opinion on the reboot versus the original, and was Robert Englund really a huge factor in as to why it didn't do so well?
Well, Chris, you see, I don't think I saw the reboot, but I will say this much though. Just looking over some of the stuff, one, it wasn't written by Wes Craven. I think that probably would be its first downfall, because you had some other. I think his name was still Wes, but you had some other idiot Wes write things like he knows what he was talking about. So that was the first problem, I guarantee it. Secondly, it's really hard to replace. It's really hard to replace your main character, even if it is movies, especially when you've had 85 of them, or plus a TV series like 7. Anyway, so it's hard to replace him because he is so iconic. But I think he can be replaced, but it takes a little more effort than probably that other idiot West guy going, "You, what's your name? All right, you can have it." That doesn't work. But I think he could be replaced with the right creepy guy. Like, maybe find a real child murderer from a penitentiary somewhere. I bet they could play creepy great.
God.
Wow.
Just an idea. Just an idea.
Wait, did you say me? I broke up.
What?
Yes.
Did you say me?
Yes.
Yeah.
You would definitely
you
make
fit
a good
it.
You're lucky I have a bad internet connection.
So yeah,
Frank, your opinion's over.
What? I'm done. Can I finish? Let me finish. Can I finish?
Nope, no,
Okay,
you can't finish. I'm not your buddy, friend.
I'm not your friend, pal.
Get out of here, boy.
That's okay, pal. I'm not your buddy. Since Frank is done, we're going to go around the panel real quick at our final high spot, low spot of Nightmare on Elm Street and rank it 1 to 10. Gibby, we'll start with you.
High spot. I feel like they really did a good job at developing a character in Freddy. I really like the atmosphere when they go into the dream world or dream state or whatever you want to call it. Because basically I feel like that added such a good atmosphere to it. Like the music and the sound effects that they actually chose really heightened your basically sense of like urgency, and I think they probably are one of the best to actually use sound to their advantage in a scary movie, basically. And I really enjoyed that. Worst thing about it is I feel like it's kind of fallen away, like all the other major horror genres, that they're just trying to make another one just for the cash, and really just neglecting really what was truly at heart when the thing was made up. You know what I mean? So that would be my biggest issue. And I would say,
point this out.
Yes?
You've just maybe 5 times. It's driving me crazy. You keep using the word genre and you mean franchise.
Well, it is a genre. It's a horror movie.
No, genre is horror. Franchise is Freddy.
Oh, whatever. You guys picky.
It's driving me nuts.
All right. Well, good. I like driving you nuts. A-hole.
But go on with your point. I'm sorry.
So I would say at 9.5, and that's it.
That's
all I got.
Frank, what is your low high point, and what was your rank Nightmare on Elm Street?
I get to talk again.
Make it good.
Sure, I will. High point. All of it. Just every bit of it. For real though, just the writing of it, the storyline, the acting, the way they made Freddy a likable, crazy freak of a guy is just kudos to them. Low point, judging by you guys talking, would have been that remake that I didn't waste my life watching.
There you
go. And as far as the rating, I give it 15.5 cookies. Kind of like the thumb thing, only with
15.5 cookies. I like that rating.
It's technical.
Okay.
And I'm done.
Interesting rating system you got there, Frank.
It works.
Carolyn, low point, high point, and a scale of 1 to 10.
Low point remake, sure.
Nailed
high
it.
point, yeah. High point character development on Freddy. I mean, I think like they were so creative. Like I said, it's in your dreams. Like, how can you fight that? We all need to sleep. So, how do you beat this villain? I truly think that for a whole movie to be really successful, you need a very difficult villain to beat. That person needs to be almost unbreakable, invincible, impossible for you to beat. And Freddy, pretty close to it. He is already dead, really, and he lives in your subconscious, in your dreams. He knows your fears. Like, that's terrible. That's very, very scary. So, that to me is just like perfection. And I'll give it like a 9.7 just because I feel like giving a 10, there's no such thing as a movie, I think. But, yeah, awesome movie.
So we have gone from murderous brothers to hockey players with machetes and a guy who stalks you in your dreams and touches children. Now we move on to a movie called Child's Play.
I don't remember talking about Gibby.
Oh, wrong.
If you're listening live, we will be going into Child's Play next. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure you click the little link thing to go on to the next video that Tony set up. He spends a lot of time on these graphics that he puts on the videos, and they're awesome, because if I did it, it'd be done in paint. So, for those of you that have stuck with us, we're now going to be talking about Child's Play, which is a 1980 American horror film directed by Tom Holland and written by Don Mancini and Jim LaFia. And Holland. Odd. Oh, Tom Holland. Okay. I thought maybe the country Holland. It stars Catherine Hicks, Chris Sarandon, Vincent, and Brandon Dourif. Side note, and a little fact for your fans, Brandon Dourif was the sheriff in the Rob Zombie remake of Halloween. Official taglines of the film are, "You'll wish it was only make-believe," and "Something's moved in the Clay family, and so has terror." The film was first released on November 9th, 1988, missing Halloween by that much, and was met with moderate success. It has developed a cult following among fans of horror genre. The film is the first in the Child's Play film series, and is the first movie to feature the killer doll, Chucky. It was the only film in the series released by MGM/UA, and the rights to the series were sold to Universal Studios in 1990, right before the production of Child's Play 2 started. Going around the panel, I'm going to start with you, Carolyn. What was your initial thoughts on Child's Play?
Awesome movie. I mean, I grew up with dolls, and yeah, it's like, and I told this Tony, but like my grandma, she makes up stories, and she would tell me and my cousins, and my cousin had this life-size Barbie that someone had that life-size Barbie, and the Barbie was possessed, and the girl would wake up every day with scratches everywhere, and they would find blood under the Barbie's fingernails. So when I saw Child's Play, I was like, whoa, okay, Grandma maybe had a point. Like, this is scary, but really awesome. Chucky, to me, is a great balance of very fun villain and very villain. I mean, it looks crazy. I mean, the fact that cast actor that like the doll where they all to look kind of like weird face, red hair, and it was just fun. A little kid in it. The little kid does a good job in the movie too. It's just, I mean, it can make or break it when a little kid is main characters. I like it a lot. The franchise, it became more and more comedic, which it's not a bad thing, but I kind of like the first original one best because it's still kind of scary.
For sure. Maybe, what was your initial thoughts on Child Play?
I thought it was actually kind of interesting. I thought it was kind of interesting how they incorporated a doll as a killer, and basically that his soul got like hexed into it or whatever. I actually thought
meant to do it, I believe.
Oh, I don't remember, but whatever. But I thought it was kind of interesting how that, and then it basically made dolls like scary and things like that, and then I actually enjoyed the sequels better than the original. I actually liked the comedic aspects, so I thought it actually made it more the horror, kind of like basically broke up the horror somewhat in between each scene, sort of like how, you know, Friday the 13th always had them crazy sex scenes, so it was like up and down more. So it kind of, I thought it felt a little bit easier per se than the first one, where it was much more like suspenseful. But as a whole, I actually really liked it.
Very cool. Frank, what was your thought on Child's Play, the movie?
I don't recommend the porno, that's for sure. My first thoughts...
You're a terrible person.
But no, having a creepy doll that kills people is just a great idea for a horror series.
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
Just straight up. Because especially everybody had probably your favorite toy or something. Granted that he was, you know, like 2 foot tall helps.
It would have been great if it was an actual Barbie.
Like same size and everything.
Yeah, like maybe it was Ken was the one that he possessed, and his wife was Barbie.
Oh.
That would have been great.
Goes for this evil curse, ends up in a G.I. Joe doll. Like, what are you gonna do there?
That would even be better right there, G.I. Joe.
But I enjoyed it. I liked the first couple. I think Child's Play 2 and 3, 1, 2, and 3 were pretty good. The Bride of Chucky and The Seed were almost just they wanted to get more movies out and make money. But I know we're not talking about those. So overall, of the first movie, I enjoyed it, and it had a good story to it of this serial killer trying to get away from the cops. So hey, I'm gonna hide on this doll. Oh shit, I want to kill people again. I'm gonna go do that. Crap, I don't want to be a doll forever, so I'm gonna put my soul into this kid, which doesn't really pan out. But it had a good story. I enjoyed it. Not enough boobs though, since we got onto that topic.
Oh
gave
man,
me
sure.
Yeah, definitely a boob rating. I think there's a website for that.
I was gonna say there's a website for that.
I think there is. To the Google.
To the Google. We've lost Frank. Thanks for joining us tonight, Frank.
What? What'd you say?
You Google it so we don't have to.
No, what did they say?
Thanks for showing
I said,
up.
well, we've lost Frank to Google, so have a good night. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, yeah, the first time you said it, the only words that came out were Frank and Knight.
Sounds about
anyway,
right.
Continue on.
I rhymed. With Child's Play, it spawned a little bit of controversy when it was first released, and the controversy that was sparked was during the initial release, a large crowd of protesters formed at the main entrance of MGM calling for a ban of the film because they claimed it would incite violence in children. Local news reporters from 2 TV stations were broadcasting live from the scene, and the producer David Kirshner was watching the demonstration on TV and was disturbed. Jeffrey Hilton, working in Kirshner's office at MGM, indicated that he could quell the disturbance in 10 minutes. While Kirshner was watching from safety of his office, Hilton spoke to the group's leaders and shook his hand. The group instantly dispersed, much to the chagrin of the newscasters. Hilton did not reveal to Kirshner whether it had been a threat or a simple diplomacy that saved the day. But Hilton's diplomacy notwithstanding, the film's franchise was plagued with accusations of inciting violence in children. Child's Play 3 was cited with the inspiration for 2 murders, which took place in the UK in 1992 and February 1993, respectively. The murder of Susan Caper and the murder of James Bulger. In the Susan Caper case, the 16-year-old catchphrase, "I'm Chucky, wanna play." Tom Holland, in response to both murders, defended the film, stating the viewer could only be influenced by the content if they were unbalanced to begin with. Gibby, we'll start with you, because I think you're the most on the panel. Do you believe that violence horror movies, such as Child's Play, has a huge impact on children?
To be honest, I mean, you could almost argue the fact then that the little doll in oh Jesus Christ, Saw.
Annabelle?
In Saw, you could almost say then that incites violence in children because it's a doll, and I mean that one's even worse in my opinion than Chucky, because they're basically brutally murdering people in that compared to Chucky, which is, in my opinion, is a little bit more toned down compared to Saw. I mean, Saw literally shows like some crazy shit in that movie. So I think, I mean, it's the same concept even when you come into video games. Just violent video games incite violence in kids. And I would happen to agree that I would say it won't unless you have an imbalanced child already. I don't see a normal kid going crazy like that unless he was already basically fucked up in the brain. You know what I mean? It's the same concept with like all the school shootings and stuff like that, and they always try asserting it to some reason other than the fact that the kid needed help, and basically no one helped the kid. Because that's the main issue at hand. Like, I don't see violent video games or movies causing that at all. But I mean, I can see why some people would think that, but I just disagree.
Frank, what was your thoughts on this horror movie inspiring people to kill people?
Well, for one, why are you letting your kid watch it if you're that worried about it?
That's a great question.
Awesome parents.
Yeah. Like, I let my 5-year-old watch this movie that's R-rated and is about murdering people, and now he stabbed the cat. Your movie sucks. No, you failed, lady. So yeah, that's basically the big point. Like, I guess I don't. Maybe it's because I don't have kids, so I don't want to blame everybody else. But also, MrSkin.com for the movie boob thing.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh, it had to come in. That had to come in. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Phrasing.
That's all.
Had to come in. Come on, Gibby.
Hey, you had to come in though.
That is all.
God, this is digressing badly. Carolyn, what's your opinion on
what you get for bringing up there?
Horror films murdering?
Yeah, what did you expect?
People. True. That's why you're on Wednesdays.
And only Wednesdays. It's very rare they let me out of the closet, man.
Did Gibby just come out?
Phrasing again. Yeah, right?
Congratulations, Gibby. We knew it.
How you guys doing? Go ahead.
Just because you're gay, your voice doesn't have to go up an octave.
It does. It does, in my opinion.
Okay. Carolyn, what was your opinion on murderers being bred from stupid murdering movies?
I agree with you guys. I think that it's so much easier to blame a movie, video game, than actually take the problem, which is people don't talk about mental health enough, especially with kids. You know, if you see your child drawing dogs with blood gushing out of their necks, or already like little animals, things like that, you don't think the face, and then you go ahead and, they watched Child's Play. Oh, it's Chucky. They're obsessed with Chucky, or Slenderman, which was one of the new ones, and they're doing super. No, people understand that behavior is a mixture of disposition and environment. It cannot be just one of them. So yes, that's my experience to horror movies, but just because of horror movies, he's not going to go out and do harmful things first, and unless that child already has sort of predisposition of such things, or that child is not maybe mentally healthy. So people are just for dumb shit to bring their problems, and horror movie with a doll, and yeah, that's like an easy target. It's
an easy out. That's what it is.
Yeah, it really is.
When it comes to the franchise, obviously 1 through 3 torments the kid Andy Barclay, and then Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky kind of goes on its own little thing, and Curse of Chucky really brings it almost full circle. Do you feel that this is a successful franchise, Frank?
Well, yeah, kind of. But again, the later ones just started to get dumb. Like, they started to rely, especially in Seed of Chucky, they relied way too much on the comedic aspect than they actually did of making a horror movie. Like, that was actually a comedy with a little bit of blood. So I feel like they kind of lost their way, and yeah.
But
my 2 cents.
In retrospect, the new movie that was just released this year, which I still want to see so bad, and haven't picked up yet because I'm an idiot, actually released last year. The Curse of Chucky kind of went, all right, well, we went a little too goofy. Let's bring it back, and let's go after Andy again.
Well, then,
so
hooray. Sounds good. 5 stars.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they did it. Gibby, what is your thought on the franchise?
For the franchise as a whole, I mean, it is going downhill, but I feel like that's with any franchise in the horror aspect. Like, name one that actually was capable of keeping that quality alive for that long. I mean, that's the main problem. All right, you got me on that. All right, that's probably. But see, they did all those. They did all those in rapid succession. No, if they come out with a Saw like 5 years from now, is it going to be at the same quality? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because they use the same actors and everything. Whereas in all of these, especially like the Freddys, they had I mean, I can't even tell you how many different Jasons there were. I mean, I highly doubt it was the same one for every single one because of just how many times. I mean, that thing's going on for what? Close to 30 years now? 40 years?
There's about 7 of them, and when they're in the room together, they all think they're the best Jason.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's... You're going to have issues. I mean, like you were saying with Freddy, I mean, after a point, it actually becomes such an iconic classic that if they make more of them, they're not going to be able to use the same people anymore. And I feel like Saw benefited with the fact that they just completely pushed all those out so fast. So, I mean, the original 5 Freddys were that way. Well, they weren't really that pushed out that quick, but there's all the same, basically, the same guy played Freddy in every single one. So you had a lot more, there's a lot more balance in that aspect. So, I don't know. I think as a whole, Child's Play in general did okay. I mean, I do agree it kind of went more comic with it, but I still enjoy them. I guess I'm weird for that, though. So
weirdo.
No, I do.
Yeah.
Saturday night, me and Frank sat through all of them, except for the first one for some reason. Carolyn, what is your thoughts on the franchise as a whole?
Well, I still prefer the first one, and I think that just because it's horror, I didn't see the last one. I didn't see it though because you are right. I think they brought back a lot of horror elements to it, and I like that. I did watch the other ones, and I already knew they were going to be good. I forget. I think with the there's even some bit Britney Spears gets like killed, like something stupid like that. It's
yeah, she does.
Like, yeah, right? It's feeling a lot like scary movie French. It was just like, and I'm not going to say it didn't work because I feel like it still made me, and it just became very campy, very, very campy, sort of like movie, not even horror, just like a few deaths here and there. And even the deaths were funny too. So I guess from being this scary idea to just thinking, oh, it's a doll. Like, that is just silly, and cashing that aspect of being silly. didn't work out for me. Again, I wish they kept the horror more relevant throughout the franchise, but it's still commercial and people paid money to see it. I mean, I paid money to watch. So I guess it worked on my way.
So before we end the podcast, like we did with the other three movies, we're going to go through. We're going to give the low points, high points of the original Child's Play, and what you would score it on a 1 to 10. We'll start with you, Frank.
Oh yeah. All right. High point would probably be for the first three, the consistent going after Andy and just being a creepy doll that doesn't die properly or at all.
I love how it die properly.
And then as a low point, as I think you've already caught the hint, The Seed of Chucky was just a terrible movie, and what's her face with the annoying voice doesn't need
Jennifer Tilly?
Doesn't need the double dialogue. She doesn't need the double dialogue. She can talk once, fine. 2 times, too much, and just way too much trying to make stupid puns and terrible. But as far as a rating goes, I think it's about a turkey.
About a turkey, all right.
What? Where's that rank on the cookie scale?
Well, you can't compare cookies to turkeys, man.
Yeah, man. Jeez, 2 different animals.
Damn it, Frank.
Well, okay, maybe this will clear it up. It's kind of like 15 horseradishes.
Okay, that makes it more sense then.
Good.
Our audience needed to know. Carolyn, what was your low point, high point on the movie, and a scale from 1 turkey to 10 horseradishes?
Oh God, I'm not that bright like that. I'll try. I guess the low point would be The Seed of Chucky. I agree with that one. High point, first movie, really cool, using you being able to carry your soul and you being able to pick a body afterwards. When he becomes a doll, he knows that the first person he tells his secret to, that he's actually a human spirit, that's the person who is going to, he's chosen one. That's the person he's going to possess afterwards. Pretty scary. It's pretty bizarre because the little kid trusted that doll. He was his friend. That's pretty cool. I would give maybe a, I don't know. I think I could do the other cookie thing because I have more information on that grade system.
Some kind of form of calculus, I think.
Right.
Give me high point, low point on Child's Play, and what would you rank it 1 to 10?
All right, I point. I actually like the fact that they went away from more sort of like a soul type character, not as much as like an actual like brawn type character, whereas like Jason and all of them were all more of brawn and beat the crap out of you, kill you, and then Chucky's more of an innocent looking doll that goes on a homicidal rampage. Rampage! And you know where that's from, right?
I do. I can't find the clip.
Okay. Danger Zone. So that's I actually really enjoyed it. I feel like all other good horror flicks, they just the longer they keep bringing it and stretching it out, the more they keep fucking it up. But I feel like they're still watchable.
That's how like all sequels really go. Like after you do it for so long, you just lost.
Yeah.
You need to stop.
Except Saw.
Pretty much. No, Saw, like, all right, you keep bringing that up, but whatever. And then I would probably rate it at 3.5 turkeys or 15 wallabiggers.
Clearly don't know how to use the scale. Clearly don't know how to use it.
You need to put like a online for us. You know how to read it because it's just very.
I'll try to throw together a conversion chart. Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
I want graphs and charts.
That's right. We need them. We're stupid. We be stupid,
Well,
Frank. We be stupid. We need your help.
I know.
So,
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight and dealing with us, especially my Canadian internet access. I'd like to thank Brian Gibson. We'll go around the panel. I don't know why I thank Brian only. We'll go around the panel, and we'll let you plug things. I know what two you should be plugging. You go first.
Check back here in Mega Powers Radio every Wednesday for the Daceman Show at 8 o'clock, I believe, ish, sometime around then.
We've been doing
Just
70 of them. What do you mean you believe?
It's a time. We don't.
He sits on Skype all day. Just whenever you call, he's like, "Oh, it's a time."
Yeah, we will discuss sports, weird news, celebrities. Maybe have a douchebag of the week and a high five, which we haven't had in ages. And I'll sing at some point in time. Multiple times. Probably. Because, guys, I know what you want. I know what you need. Yeah.
Yeah, so you should check out the DacemanShow.com, because that's awesome, even though that's not the show. But check it out. Actually, we're working on that, and I'm not going to get into detail yet. But also, you should check out the newest Daceman Plays, because I'm on it. And I just wanted to say that.
Very
and
true.
actually, if you want to shoot Gibby, nobody will complain. Just throwing that out there.
Gorgeous, I think.
What's that got to do with the bullet?
Because I'm gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Carolyn, what do you have to plug?
Kill him and wear skin.
Well, I would like everybody to check out Fanboys Anonymous. All the articles. I don't know if we're still having the Walking Dead contest going on, but a lot of really cool news and interesting stuff. And you feel like sculptures of really gory stuff and mythical beings, you can check out my website, czofeffects.com. And I'm trying to upload more pictures soon. But there's some gory, cool stuff in there that I think people like it.
Sweet.
Yep.
Now
or
it's
if you
time
don't
for
want to
me.
read,
Let's
you can just watch us.
Wow. So now it's my turn. Let's see how far I get into it before Gibby interrupts me. Follow me on Twitter at the Daceman. Check out everything that's going on at fanboysnauts.com, including the Daceman Show, Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, on Mega Powers Radio. Check out alltimewrestling.net, where yours truly will be making his return this Saturday, 2 p.m. in Williamstown, Jersey. The crazy man is back.
Yeah, and he
Shut
can't
up.
walk without a walker. You know, God.
You're so horrible. Check out the Daceman Show on YouTube. We've got a lot of content there. Like Frank said, he's on this edition of the Daceman Plays. We have a two-parter. We're borderline with the pre-sequel.
Ew.
It's practically a movie.
Technically a movie.
It is. It's 2.5 hours of it. It was terrible. It was garbage. So, on behalf of myself,
no boobs,
Gibby, Carolyn, and Frank, thank you for joining us here tonight on For Real Movie Club, where we talked about horror icons, and for the few, the proud, and the Dace-tacular. No, wait a minute. That's the wrong show. Sorry.
Yes.
So, keep watching movies. I don't have an outro for this one. I don't have an outro for this one. Just keep watching movies.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. I'm too old for this.
Good day, sir!
You stay classy, San Diego.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I'm finished.
That'll do, Pete. That'll do. Hasta la vista, baby.
Hey, everybody! We're all gonna get late!
You're still here? It's over. Go home.